Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tech Informist. This is episode 28, recorded on February 4th, 2015. The Tech Informist is a show intended to help inform and educate listeners such as you about the world of technology with interviews with guests from the tech industry, along with lively and entertaining commentary about the latest tech news. My name is Kevin Harvell, and I'm also joined by my good friend and co-host, JJ Hammond. JJ, how are you doing today?
Kevin, I am rolling.
You're rolling. Little Tombstone reference there. Love it. Love it. One of my favorite movies of all time. So everybody.
Arguably one of the top 10 greatest movies of all time.
Yes. That is actually the first movie I saw in theaters multiple times. Yep. Back in 1993. Yes. Great film. Love it. Love it.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes.
And you're welcome, listeners.
Yeah. So moving on, people might want to know how they can find us and get involved with the Tech Informist. You can do so at Tech Informist on Twitter. Find us on Facebook, Google+, Instagram as well. And we have a website as well. Maybe you didn't know. Go to www.thetechinformist.com. And if you would like to watch these episodes live and join us in the chat room, visit us at thetechinformist.com/live. You can get schedules of upcoming episodes, who's going to be guesting, which we have a guest coming up this Friday, Richard Devine from Windows Central.
Yeah.
New managing editor, I believe that's his official title now.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, he will be joining us as well. So let's move into the news of the day. How about, JJ, instead of you having to talk so much since you get your stories in first, you want to just go back and forth, kind of a little rotation this time?
Oh, look at you, improv master.
Hey, improv master.
I like it. It's better than something else. Anyway, so let's go ahead and hop right into my story first, and then we'll hit your second. Does it sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Amazon, Microsoft, step up. The very popular AdBlock Plus extension for browsing, they're going to sidestep that mother. So there are a ridiculous amount of news stories coming out recently that are congruent with things happening in my own life, which is extremely weird and creepy, and plays into my paranoia that is already at an all-time high. So this is going to be a trend, maybe. Kevin, do you think this is going to be a trend, possibly, of companies trying to sidestep ad blockers? Of course, look, internet traffic is never going to slow down, period. So advertisers are going to do everything they can to get their content to you, whether you want it or not. So what do you think about this?
Personally, I do use AdBlock on Chrome and Firefox.
It's creepy because we just talked about it, right? That's why I said I'm freaking out a little bit.
Yeah, because now if advertisers are going to be able to still display ads beyond just because they pay a little extra money,
right?
Well, I don't know.
So the Financial Times is reporting this. Go ahead, sir.
There's just some websites that I go to, even on my mobile phone. It's like this is just terrible. The whole experience, because it's bogged down with pop-up ads and stuff. I'm like, really? I hate going to websites like that, and certain websites I refuse to go to. It's like, gosh, you have such a great looking article, but I want to read the story, but man, I know it's going to be a terrible experience. So
I know a lot of people don't use it, but on my Windows devices we have that read mode where you can just it extrapolates the text from the article.
Right.
And it doesn't have any advertisements at all. So that is by far one of the coolest things. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can actually, along with AdBlocker, you can configure Chrome to do read-only mode as well, to where you can just click on it and it does the same thing for Microsoft. So I suggest people who do that.
I need to look into that.
Yeah. I'll shoot you a link.
I understand advertising. Look what we do. We're podcasters, so we need to do a lot of advertising as well, but permanent ads, I don't want stuff popping up, blowing up in my face, and it doesn't have to take the screen. I shouldn't have to click something to get out of just because I want to read the article. If I want to look at the ads, I'll see the ads on the sides. Put stuff in the ads, little banners, stuff like that. I see.
Yeah, it feels like there's a classy way to do it. It always feels like there's a classy way to do it, and those intrusive things are just Anyways, but when we grow up with the Financial Times says that Bing search ads, as well as Amazon and Taboola, I've never heard of that, but which become one of the most widely used add-ons for, which is AdBlock Plus, the internet users trying to avoid ads. Over 64% have of internet traffic has downloaded AdBlock Plus. So users will now see more ads from Microsoft and Amazon and other companies paid for IO to appear on a whitelist of acceptable ads that bypasses the browser extension. Google's ads have appeared on the site since 2013, saving more than $887 million. So this is a really interesting story. Kevin, I'll throw it back to you with any final thoughts, and then we can move into yours.
No final thoughts.
Okay.
It is going to be interesting to see what happens as this continues on.
Okay.
All right. So, how'd you sleep last night, JJ?
I slept incredibly horrible. I woke up at 3, 5, 6, 8:30, and I think I finally was drug out of bed at like 9:30.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure that your sleep issues are not related to this story, but
I hope not.
a new study shows a clear link between the increased use of electronic devices during the day and less sleep at night.
Oh, I saw this one, yeah.
And this is about teens who use screens get less sleep. So, if you're just sitting there in bed, just constantly, looking at, Facebook or just whatever it is that you're looking at. Now, this story is actually coming from The Verge, and it says teenagers who use smartphones, laptops, and tablets more often than their peers take longer to fall asleep and actually sleep for less time overall. A new study published in the journal BMJ Open shows. The findings suggest that if teenagers want to sleep better, they should try looking at screens less. So they surveyed more than 10,000 16 and 19-year-olds from Norway, questioning them about their use of electronics and sleeping habits. Those who use gadgets including MP3 players, video game consoles, tablets, smartphones, and computers for more than 5 hours a day were 3.5 times more likely to sleep for fewer than 5 hours at night, and 49% likelier to need more than an hour to get to sleep. And there was a gradual increase up to this point. Lead author Dr. Marie Hysing told The Verge, the more you spent on devices during the daytime, the less you slept, and the longer it took to fall asleep.
I already like the back and forth news story idea, Kevin. Just saying.
Okay.
Okay, so
break.
Yeah, no. It makes more sense. So the one thing I'll say about this is I think more studies need to be done on the equator rather than places of the greater northern hemisphere, because I feel as though those studies are somewhat skewed because of the daily life of where that is in location to how much sunlight that's actually given, right?
Right.
It's abnormal for those people living in those areas to receive so much light that enters in through the optics, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you're not going to go talk to 10,000 teens up in northern Alaska.
Yeah, that's my point. Because they
get
it's
like 2
3
hours
months of darkness. You know what I mean? So they're not. That's not how it's supposed to go. So I'd like to see more, kind of maybe southern United States, Hawaii, that sort of thing. Places where it's like boom, sunlight all the time.
Yeah.
As far as the validity of this study, I'm sure it's very well done, and it's interesting to consider. I don't have kids myself, but I do read before I go to bed. As a process, and a lot of the times it's a Kindle Amazon app. And I don't think it has any bearing on my particular sleep issues. So, but I do think, and I could see kind of that light or that tendency to, because the brain needs to say, okay, it's dark and it's time for me to lights out. So I'm curious to see more studies come out from stuff like this.
Right.
Moving on.
Right. Moving on.
Just to say this. Hold on a second. Side note. Is it just me, or do Super Bowl ads come across way too serious? But the Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel ad, as well as the Liam Nielsen, was hilarious. Hilarious. Liam Nielsen, when he was talking smack on that was the coolest. Like, whoever thought of that, good job.
Yeah, that was a great commercial. I liked it. Clash of Clans, I believe it was.
Clash of Clans. Okay. Darn you, Samsung! I want a Spork phone. And I wanted to see dancing in a light show in New York. I wanted, just craziness as Kevin will continue to bring back the craziness of the S4 launch. But what I am really looking for from Samsung, because what we found out over this last couple of days is that at Mobile World Congress, I believe March the 1st, Samsung is going to change the paradigm of the top of the line smartphone designs. Are they going to do that? That's what I'm looking for. What will they give for reasons for S5 users who want to go to the S6 other than just wanting the latest and greatest? What is the case for emerging markets? What is their answer for these Huawei, Xiaomi, those type of and Motorola even to some extent? Will Samsung for sure use their own Exynos chips for the internals after the whole Snapdragon 810 fiasco? Now, this article that I have linked in the story does come from Android Central. We're huge fans of that site, as well as the contributors, and that has been on the show. And they're really great. I think they did a really good job, and I think they will continue to do a good job of reporting on the story. There's a large amount of people that use Samsung products, and the spork reference that I did earlier was because people were talking about, I think actually you on one of the past episodes said it would look like a fork on the design, and then somebody put up the Edge device that was released over the last couple of days, or excuse me, over the last couple of weeks, and it does make more sense now. So there is going to be an Edge device, and we're seeing pricing tiers for the different devices that are going to come out. Do you think that the Edge is a compelling case to move on, and kind of what are your thoughts on the Samsung Galaxy S6?
I mean, it is very interesting to use the Note Edge. I mean, I played around with it some at CES. Still yet to get a review unit to actually try in a daily scenario, so I haven't spent a whole lot of time using it. But the people that do have it like it, even though as odd as it seems of a design, there are a lot of really neat functionality to it. So I'm looking forward to it. My only complaint is like, why are we doing this on a Sunday? When I was adding the event to my calendar, I'm like, this is on a Sunday at noon my time. It's like, why is it going to be on a Sunday?
Well, I mean, honestly, with football no longer, on the docket for most Sundays, I think, I possibly think that was a good move. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I mean, it's the whole time difference. I believe it'll be like Monday morning over there, or actually late afternoon, in the evening over there. So
Gotcha.
that's just Mobile World Congress. They do a lot of things on. I mean, it's like CS. There was a lot of stuff going on Sunday night as well, even though the conference didn't really kick off until Monday. So.
I kind of think it's a smart move to save money too, because it's already going to be a big event, and a lot of people are going to want to hands-on or talk or whatever. So it gives you a good chance for exposure. I mean, a lot of web traffic, stuff like that.
Right. So before I kick off to my next story, I'd like to give Brad Whiteside a shout out there. He's in the chat room joining us today. Hey,
well,
Brad,
hello,
what's going
sir.
on? So back to Super Bowl stuff. Verizon customers at Super Bowl 49 racked up more than 25 million wireless data connections. Verizon reports that there was a total of 4.1 terabytes of data, which more than doubled last year's big game usage.
Wow.
Now, just trying to get a connection at a football game is pretty tough. So I can only imagine what it was like trying to, make sure things are set up for, fans at the Super Bowl to be able to get any kind of connectivity. But Verizon gave some information out, some of the things that they did. So first, they quadrupled the 4G LTE data capacity at the stadium and at major venues throughout Metro Phoenix. So they didn't just focus on the area immediately around the stadium there in Phoenix. They built cell sites, small cell systems, indoor and outdoor distributed antenna systems, and planned deployment of mobile cell sites. They introduced XLTE technology to add even more 4G LTE bandwidth. And throughout the season, During the Arizona Cardinals home games, the Verizon team ran drills to ensure the wireless network would be ready for fans on Super Bowl Sunday. They even formed a 12-person network performance team to do the, can you hear me, text me, tweet me now, network monitoring and management in the stadium during the game. So that's cool. I mean, we've seen that here in St. Louis, where AT&T and T and Verizon will bring in, temporary cell sites to help, boost things for postseason play because, you get all these thousands of people in one tiny little area. You want to be able to get connected. So that's interesting to see how much data was used and connections and people just going crazy with everything.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brad. I think S6, no touch whiz, but we talked about it on a previous episode. They are scaling that back a little bit. We'll see what that looks like, and hopefully that's true. Just a comment on that. Now, moving forward, having gone through, actual drills and training and stuff, as soon as you said that about Verizon, the first thing that popped into my mind is a whole bunch of, kind of geeky guys like trying to do drills for some reason. That was really kind of hilarious. I hope that you get a laugh out of that a little bit because I know I just did. But Verizon and AT&T, we're going to see, and we're going to talk about this in a later show. We're going to see kind of really just kind of a boom from them, and they're really, really trying to make a good, compelling case of why people would pick their services because they're consistent and the best. There are reasons to go with T-Mobile. There are reasons to go with Sprint. There are reasons to go with Verizon. There are reasons to go with AT&T, whether it be devices, whether it be those types of things. And I think the guys who are on top, the AT&Ts and Verizons, they have a compelling case of continuing a service across the country, and in difficult areas like inside, dense buildings and high, traffic areas, stuff like that. So it is interesting to see them gather this kind of data in which they can then turn into hopefully delivering better service. I think that you could agree that that's definitely the point there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like just real quick, some little numbers that they also threw in here. That number represents 3.67 billion social media posts, 10
Oh,
million
wow.
emails, 1.9 million web pages accessed, and more than 122,000 videos shared. And one other bit about Verizon, there are some rumblings today that they are going to be dropping
Mhm.
their prices like $10 a month or something like that for data
Really?
things. Yeah.
Wow.
So we
Is
might
that
talk about that on Friday.
yeah. Yeah, I'll be kind of curious to see if that's prepaid or postpaid. It's interesting. Well, there's one thing that's very interesting from this last quarter, which is tablet shipments are down. That is interesting for a number of reasons. One, is there going to be a continuation of a switch from tablets to phablets? Who is poised to make the most from this change in the consumer and business habits, from consumer business habits? Uh, Most, if not all, arguably would say that iOS from the 6 Plus is most poised because of the 6 Plus kind of going to cannibalize, in some people's opinions, the Mac, or not the Mac Mini. Oh, geez, we were just talking about that before the show. Listen to me. But the iPad Mini and maybe even iPad. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I'm curious to get your thoughts in particular because you actually have an iPad and
Yeah,
are.
I mean, I can definitely attest to it's trying to sell tablets is apparently pretty tough because I thought, an iPad Air
Mhm.
with a Logitech Bluetooth keyboard would be something people would be, oh man, it's, basically you're saying it's just a couple months old and it's, you're looking to
Mhm.
sell it, it's perfectly
Yep.
flawless and
Mhm.
like, I just want to sell it and get an iPhone because I feel I use the iPhone more than the iPad and
And you're not alone.
no, and I have to keep dropping the price here and there. So if anybody wants a link to our Swappa
Mhm.
listing and are interested in it, seriously, this thing is like flawless mint condition with a great keyboard and stuff.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, let us know because
Absolutely. Listen to us. We're trying to
yeah,
hack our equipment.
all
It's
right,
hilarious. All right. So the other thing I want to note here is I think that most of your um. No, that's funny. I'm getting a call that I really need to take, but I'm not going to. So what's interesting to me is that I have a 1520, Lumia 1520. I think that is still arguably the best Windows phone out there, and I think it's still going to be for the rest of the year. And I also think that Samsung, with their Note 4 line and whatever device they release, March 1st, I think that Apple, Samsung, I don't know. I'm on the fence about Motorola's Nexus 6, but I think that those two for sure are poised to best capture people who are leaving tablets and moving more to phablets. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the people that I know that have like the iPhone 6 Plus, for
Mm-hmm.
example, they're like, I have no need for, especially the mini. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they can make some use out of the iPad because, it's more fun to watch a movie on an iPad than it is, like a phablet, the 6 Plus,
Mm. Yeah.
because, the bigger screen and stuff. But
Yep.
I can understand. I mean, I'm a fan of the larger screen devices.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, you have a Nexus 6. So there you go. So
Hmm.
tablet shipments are down. Let's see. Total worldwide shipments of so-called two-in-ones, laptop tablets during the fourth quarter hit 76.1 million units, declining by 3.2% compared to 78.6 million tablets the year before. There's a couple other interesting tidbits of information in this story if you want to learn more about this, but I pretty much covered everything. You can go ahead and click on the link in the show notes. Kevin, you're up.
Yes. Yes. So we mentioned recently about Radio Shack and some of their
Oh.
troubles that they're going through, and apparently they were just like deregistered from the New York Stock Exchange and probably headed for bankruptcy.
Yep.
But now it looks like they might have a couple of potential buyers lining up to take over the retail stores in the United States. Both Amazon and Sprint are weighing bids for some of Radio Shack's 4,000 United States locations, according to two separate reports from Bloomberg. Sprint, which Bloomberg says is interested in 1,300 to 2,000 stores, might mainly be interested in Radio Shack for defensive reasons, since Radio Shack is one of its biggest reseller partners. The electronics chain has not only long sold Sprint phones, but also carries its prepaid Virgin Mobile and Boost Mobile brands. Amazon, however, would be tackling some entirely new brick and mortar retail, which makes it really interesting if Amazon is interested because it's one of the reasons why they can kind of like undercut a lot of companies and have the low prices and all that stuff because they don't have to pay for retail locations. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean I can see radio or Amazon doing this just because then people could order online and just simply go to the store and pick it up.
That makes sense. It really, I mean,
Because
some sense, not a whole lot of sense, but some sense.
all right, say hey, within 30 minutes we'll have your product from the warehouse to the retail location of your choice and you pick it up there in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And because that whole drone thing about Amazon shipping and dropping things off via drone, I just, I mean, I think that's really cool technology to have stuff dropped off right there on your front lawn or wherever
Mm-hmm.
it is you designate
Mm-hmm.
to have it dropped at.
Mm-hmm.
But this, I think, is more a more
Realistic.
yeah more realistic option for people. Hey, you can go pick it up in 30 minutes instead of having to wait 2 days.
Think about this too. People who have medications delivered to their house, people who have or apartment or whatever, people who have devices, people who have now Amazon offers groceries and stuff. Just think, I used to live in sketchy areas. I still kind of live in a not so awesome particular area for some things. My car's been broken into and all that, but just think if you're like, you know what, I don't have to necessarily have that worry anymore. If I want to have something shipped to, from Amazon, which arguably a lot of people have Amazon addictions, then they can just have it shipped to that location and they won't have to worry about somebody, taking and or stealing or whatever the case may be. Is now I know that there are other solutions for that, but I think there's a case to be made for Amazon having those sorts of things shipped there.
Yeah, and also the those videos of UPS and FedEx drivers, some of them. I mean, obviously it's not all. It's just a special rare few
Right.
of just tossing things over gates and
Mm-hmm.
damaging the box and the packages and stuff. Whether it's Amazon packages or whatever, it's just
Mm-hmm.
not everybody wants UPS and FedEx handling their packages like that. So
No, they really don't. They really, really don't. Let's see. Next up.
next
Okay.
up is JJ.
is J. All right, but there's one thing that's kind of close to me personally. It's this whole net neutrality stuff from the FCC. Now, before you start falling asleep, I'm not going to put you to sleep. I promise. The FCC is expected to propose regulating the internet service as a utility. What I'm looking out for, and Kevin's probably gonna look. We do this show kind of earlier in the day, so there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens in between the morning and when we do this show. So he could, there could be a story that breaks over the next hour or two, or even the next 30 minutes. But basically, the chairman of the FCC this week is widely expected to propose regulating the internet service like a public utility, a move that will certainly unleash a whole new round of intense debate and lobbying from AT&T, Verizon, and all this other kind of the Comcast and all that. We're talking about millions, if not billions, in dark money. It is expected to this proposal will classify the high-speed internet service as a telecommunications service instead of an informational service, which is insane because it should have been telecommunications instead of information before. Anyways, Title II of the Communications Act, according to industry analysts and lobbyists, former staff members. The change, the analysts and others say, which has pushed by President Obama, will give the commission strong legal authority to ensure that content is not blocked and there is no so-called pay-to-play fast lanes that exist, and prohibits the hallmarks of basically it keeps people from not being able to get to a site or not being able to like have to find a workaround and all these other kinds of things, and yeah, making it a level playing field for everybody to be have on. This is a very interesting story. Kevin, why don't you go ahead and kind of top this off a little bit if you don't mind?
Yeah, kind of touching on what you mentioned at the beginning, that according to The Verge, it is official the FCC will seek to reclassify the internet as a utility. So it's a huge victory for net neutrality advocates. And today, in a statement given to Wired, FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler revealed his plan to reclassify ISPs as common carriers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. It is a striking victory for net neutrality advocates who have been fighting for years to solidify internet protections using Title II authority, and it's the first time the FCC has shown enough backbone to draw a line in the sand against companies like Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon, who are sure to fight viciously in courts to reverse this action.
Not just fighting courts, but trying to get Congress to remove the FCC's capability to
Yeah.
make these kinds of regulations.
Isn't it? I mean, these last two episodes, this one and last one, so much FCC talk. It's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, because this directly affects us
Oh, yeah.
in a lot of ways, and I think there's there's something to be said when I believe Apple, Google, Microsoft, and everybody, and Amazon, and Netflix, and all this other kind of stuff, they're all wanting net neutrality to be good to go. It's the providers who are like, no, 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 we want to make more money. So, you know,
Right, right.
it's one of those things.
It
You're
is
up,
one of
Kev.
those things. All right, so we're going to move into, Google developing its own Uber competitor. Now, we've known that Google has been working on driverless cars.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently, the two companies are getting ready to go to war over self-driving taxis. So Uber, this is from the Bloomberg Business, Bloomberg.com. Uber faces an ever-growing cast of adversaries that include dubious regulators, litigious drivers, hostile members of the press, and some well-funded rivals. But the most significant threat to the app-based transportation company may be much closer to home, one of its biggest investors, Google.
Mm.
So back in August of 2013, Google invested $258 million in Uber. It was Google Ventures' largest investment deal ever, and the company put more money into Uber's next funding round less than a year later. Back then, it was easy for observers to imagine Google teaming closely with Uber or even one day acquiring it. David Drummond, Google's chief legal officer and senior vice president of corporate development, joined the Uber board of directors in 2013 and has served on it ever since. So
Nice.
Uber looks to be also teaming up with Carnegie Mellon University for a research facility in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to develop its own autonomous vehicle technology. The company announced this last Monday. So it looks like things are going to start getting interesting in the ride-sharing market and also with these driverless cars.
Dude, you know me well enough now. I want a bullet train. I want driverless cars. I want all of that stuff because that is. I just hope this becomes a reality.
Yeah, as long as everything is safe and,
Mm. Yeah.
and good to go. I mean, people could be so much more productive on their commutes.
Yeah. Or catch a nap. Man, how many times have you been stuck in traffic on 270 or on a major highway and you're just like,
I could
I
really
just
use a
want to
nap
take a
right now.
nap. Yeah, I'm just so tired. You
Yeah,
know,
when you
I
catch
bet.
that evening drive home and that sun setting and it's shooting you right in the face and your eyes are already tired from a long
Yeah,
day, and you're like,
yeah.
oh, I just want to close my eyes.
And I bet that uh, the heart attacks go down because they say I'm not going to do that. Oh my gosh, I almost did that the whole day say thing. But doctors have studies showing that Monday is the most or the highest rate of heart attacks, and that most people who do the 9 to 5 drives and get stuck in those traffics are higher than others to have heart attacks. I think that's going to bring down the amount of heart attacks that we see because there's some stress involved with driving a little
Oh,
bit.
I definitely enjoy driving a lot more now. I don't have to make that Monday through Friday
Right,
regular commute.
right.
It's like
Oh,
I like to
it's.
drive more now.
Hmm.
I'm driving at different times.
Oh, Paul, is there anything you can't do? Paul over at therod.com has drilled into Google's revenues for this last quarter and come up with some interesting notes. What I see is a lot of mistakes and a lot of kind of blaming the dollar for being too strong and blaming hardware, store, and markets for some of their problems, but they didn't really lose a whole lot in the market, right? So one of the things that we're seeing is right now over 95 or approximately 95% of Google's revenues come from advertising. And this goes into the other story we were just talking about ad block, right? And that being a supported extension in Google's Chrome browser. So there's kind of a paradigm, or there's kind of this weird, um, you know, I don't know. There's just this weird thing going on there. But the pay per clicks over the last couple of years is showing growth, but it is still trending down. And Google's site is up, and third-party sites. So that's really interesting. Revenue from other businesses, really the Play Store grew faster by 20% than the rest of the company. It contributed to 1.9 billion in revenue. By comparison, Apple had 5 billion revenue from their own iTunes store. Impact of the strong dollar. That's the Google CFO, the Chief Financial Officer, Patrick Pichetti. I guess that's how you say his name. The strong dollar erased 468 million in revenues. That's just complaining. Not enough Nexus 6. Kevin, you could probably talk about this a little bit. The Nexus 6, I've seen in commercials. I've seen people. I've seen a lot of Nexus 6 devices kind of in the wild, but I would think there would have been more given the demand and the shortage and all that stuff. What do you think?
Well, just from my experience of needing to get mine replaced because of the back cover popping off, I think one of the reasons why it's still tough to get is because they're having to replace so many of these because of that issue and just other little issues. Overall, it's a great device, but with I mean historically when it comes to a Nexus device, whenever they launch them at the very beginning of November or very end of December, it's tough to find them as it is until February to be able to just go to the Play Store and order it until February. So that's 2 3 months that it's already tough to get a hold of. And now with this version being made by Motorola, it's available on Motorola. It's available throughout carriers other than Verizon, which it's actually coming to Verizon here very soon. So there's more being made and they're being distributed in more different channels. So I think that's one reason why it's tougher to get, and also the fact that it's the Moto X Pro, which is releasing in China. So they have to have units allotted for that market as well. So it's not just Nexus 5, Nexus 4, where there's one way to get it, and that's really it. There's so many other channels to get it,
Right.
and I think that's one reason why it's that much more difficult to get.
Yep, I agree with that totally. The other thing I want to note here is that Google also took a write down on real estate. Yeah, kind of creepy that they own a lot of real estate actually. And the other thing to take note of is addressing its addressing its decision to kill off Google Glass. The firm said that it would aggressively halt activities in those cases where projects don't have an impact we hope for. It's fair to say that Google Glass had an impact, just not a positive one. Ouch, man. For
Yeah.
people who were fans of Google Glass, that's gotta hurt a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I'm curious to see it as they, move transition it over to a different department, what they come out with for consumers. So I guess they've got all the data they need from the Explorer program, which is why, shutting it down and moving on with what they're going to do.
Okay, quick rant. Tech companies should just stop telling people that they're going to bring jobs to the U.S. because clearly they're not. Apple is going to convert their, and this is a bunch of stories were on this. Apple is going to convert their failed Sapphire plant, which arguably is a epic fail, into a massive data center in Mesa, Arizona. But companies like Motorola, companies like just all I could go on and on and on about how they're going to bring jobs back to the U.S. Just stop. Look, you're not going to. All right, you're not fooling anybody anymore. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Motorola tried with that Moto X manufacturing plant down in Texas, but
Mm-hmm.
they ended up, I think, shutting that down, especially once they sold, where the mobility division was sold to Lenovo.
Yeah, Lenovo. Right.
So, I mean, that had created jobs, but it's still expensive to manufacture in the United States, and that's sad because I'd rather export more than import.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I think Americans would like that as well. Let's talk about now that we went sad. Let's go glad.
All right,
Yep.
let's finish this news
On
run
a,
on a
yeah.
high note, a
Yeah.
nice inspirational note.
That's what we do here.
Right. So we all
Good.
know about 3D printers and a lot of the cool things that they can do,
Mm-hmm.
but a teen can now play the guitar thanks to a 3D printed prosthetic hand, and I'll put hand
Awesome.
in quotes because once I read a little bit of this article from TechCrunch, you'll understand why I kind of say that. Now, Diego Corredor wanted to play guitar, but lost his right hand when he was born. While he could use a prosthesis to grab a glass of water or pick up objects, he was not able to hold a simple guitar pick and strum the strings. Then a group of makers at 3D Gluck, Gluck, came along. The
Mm-hmm.
team worked with Corridor, who lives in Colombia, to build a custom prosthetic that he could use to play the guitar. Because it didn't have to look much like a hand, they were able to experiment with the shape, finally settling on a shield to place over his arm, as well as a pair of pinchers to hold the pick. The team also emblazoned the arm with the Linkin Park logo for Corridor. According to 3D Gluck co-founder Andrea Monroy, she says, "We wanted to create something that was useful and that could increase Diego's quality of life. 3D printed prosthetics from eNavel and other nonprofit groups have thus far focused on very simple hands that can be printed for less than $50. Corridor's hand cost about that much and has allowed the teen to learn to play a mean electric guitar." So there's a video in this um, article, which we will link to as well. And it's good. I mean, people sometimes are born without limbs and things that, people that do not have that, or just, we just take things for granted. So being able to now learn and be able to play guitar for somebody like this, thanks to this 3D printing technology, that's really cool stuff. And as a musician, JJ, I'm sure you could really appreciate, you
Mm-hmm.
know, what being able to play music can bring to a person mentally.
Oh, dude. There's
And
no there's you see a lot of artists sometimes go to children's hospitals and different stuff like that because man, music can just there's just so much it can do for you, especially when you can play. So
right. So I think this is just really cool and another great use of 3D printing technology. So
And by the way, kid, rock on because Linkin Park is my favorite band. So I was a little critical of them with one of their albums, but overall,
yeah,
I always go back to them.
it's an overall package. There you go.
Yeah, it's just feels good. Well, Kev, you're up.
All right. Well, actually, I believe that's my final story, but I have found a story about the Verizon thing that we just kind of touched on a little bit about bringing its costs down by $10. It's cutting the price on several of its more everything data plans. So that'll be, that's postpaid stuff.
Okay, gotcha,
So
gotcha.
in short, for all data tiers below 10 gigabytes, the carrier is bringing costs down by $10. 1 gig of data, which runs 40 today, will be 30 starting tomorrow. 2 will be down to 40, 3 gig 50, 4 gig 60, and they're also introducing a 6 gig option that will be $70, and an 8 gig will be 85. So that's only getting a $5 discount, they say, compared to the current plan. But here's the catch: if you need more than 8 gigabytes of data, things will actually get a bit more expensive tomorrow. Right now, you can choose a 10 gig more every day, more everything data package for 80, and a 15 gig data pool for 100. Those were always meant to be limited time promotions, so with tomorrow's rate changes, the higher data tiers are reverting back to their normal pricing. If you want to take advantage, today, February 4th, is your last chance to get in. No, it's not T-Mobile pricing, but if you need Verizon coverage, we'd recommend not missing out.
Yep,
So get over to Verizon if you want to have those higher packages.
agreed. Totally agree. Sorry for hitting the mic there, guys. The one thing I am looking forward to is talking about the next stuff. So, Kevin.
Yeah, that does finish things up for news. So we'll move kind of into the app picks and whether we talk about music or movies or TV shows or games.
So Minutes to Midnight and A Thousand Suns, I wasn't a huge fan of those two albums by Linkin Park, but Living Things, Matoria, Hybrid Theory, some of their remix stuff, just awesome, man. Just Reanimation, that was their remix album, and then their most recent one, um, you know, just wanted to let you all know. Anyways, so hopping into the application picks of the week, let's go with Sonic Dash. Now, Sonic, it has some deep roots with me that goes all the way back to when I first got a Sega Genesis and the Sega consoles. Always been a huge fan of Sonic, and I really like that a lot. Also, many of you know of the VLC for desktop, but if you want to really feel stupid, go back and watch YouTube videos of stuff that you can do with VLC, because I bet you didn't know what it could actually do and can do.
Yeah,
I bet
VLC
you
is
don't.
very powerful.
It's an amazing piece of software that's free. Just try it out, man. I mean, it is gorgeous. So VLC Sonic, VLC I believe works on most desktop operating systems, if I'm not incorrect in saying that. And then Sonic Dash, you can get that for all platforms. And then my music pick is going to be Seether, and it's going to be Words as a Weapon. That song is a really good song off of their latest album. So that is mine. Kevin, what you got?
Oh, app-wise, I would like to again mention Straw, the polling app from Ben the PC guy Rudolph. We've got a few more days left in our Straw poll that we're getting feedback from listeners about
Do you have the
the
results so
length
far?
of episodes. Let me pull that up real quick. Last I checked, we were pretty high on who wants to drop the show down a little bit time-wise. Like right now, it's 71% to 28% of people wanting us to shorten the show just a little bit. So we're working on that. As right now, we're about 45 minutes or so.
Mm-hmm.
So as of right now, people would like to shorten our non-guest episodes. Obviously, when we have a guest, the show is going to be a little bit longer.
Right.
but we're trying to make things more easy to consume on a regular basis.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
That
Well,
does
I'm
it
good
for
if you're
me.
good.
All right. So,
Thank you again, Brad, for being in the chat room. We really appreciate it. And for all of you who hit us up on Twitter, thank you, Ken. Thank you, everybody who's done and listens to the show. I really, it means a lot to me. So thank you.
yes, and Daryl, welcome back to Home Sweet Home. And
All right.
glad you had plenty of stuff to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thanks, guys.
yep. So again, for everybody, send us feedback. Contact at thetechinformist.com. Make sure to visit next time at thetechinformist.com/live to watch, view the schedule, participate in the chat room, and get us on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus. And we, again, from me, JJ, we do thank you, listeners, viewers, everybody that visits the website. We do truly appreciate it. Thanks to who all hops in the chat room. We do appreciate that. And that does it for this episode of The Tech Informist. So from everyone here at The Tech Informist, consider yourself informed. And until next time, we are out.